knows which direction that their dollar bills are facing. No one knows.
Oh. Special post-lottery edition of the Putback. The Knicks slid back to 8th in the draft on Thursday night, and now we let the speculation begin. I'm Ian Begley, here with my buddy Maurice Peebles.
Let's get into the baseline. Ian, once again in this year's draft, Knicks fans will be forced to watch the Ocho. The team that has never moved up in the lottery since 1985 remain perfect at never having a lot of luck. Ian, where do Knicks fans go from here?
Yeah, when you sit at that real estate in the draft, you're always going to be, I think, open to all avenues, whether it's trading up, trading down, sitting at 8. I think the question the Knicks and other teams around the NBA are going to ask themselves if they're looking to move up is, how much do we have to offer to Golden State, or what kind of 3-team trade can we put together to try to get that number 2 pick? Because Bob Myers is on record as saying he'd be open to moving the pick. So I think that's what the Knicks might be looking at if they're looking to move up. If you stand pat, you have plenty of options there. But I do know that some people at MSG are fans of Devin Vassell from Florida State. We know that they've scouted Cole Anthony extensively. We know they've been on the phone with Killian Hayes. So those are a couple names to keep an eye on as we move forward towards the draft.
Guest this week is Queens native Kenny the Jet Smith, 2-time NBA champion, analyst on TNT's Inside the NBA, and founder of the Jet Academy.
Thibodeau has a history of not always liking to play rookies. You know, that's going to be the key. Like, I don't know, a lot of rookies have just been able to transcend for him. Maybe they just weren't good enough either. You know, Cole Anthony for sure. He's going to be available probably at 8. He's a New York kid. Forget that Oak Hill stuff that he did. He's from Archbishop Malloy, baby. 3 years at Archbishop Malloy. That's where he got his game at, playing for the Standards. So he's a New York kid. So he would bring some excitement, you know, and some optimism to the city as well. And he's a good player. You know, I would lean towards Cole at that position.
What are your thoughts on this Knicks regime overall? You've got Tibbs now, you've got Worldwide West, you've got Leon Rose, you've got the same ownership. Is this a winning front office? Like, are they going to be able to attract free agents now?
I would say this: championships are not singular. It's a plural word. I've seen the Knicks have singular good things. I've seen Carmelo Anthony, Porzingis, Steph Marbury. I've seen great players come through there. I've seen Phil Jackson, arguably the most innovative mind in basketball history there. I've seen Mike Woodson do a good job. It's not about singular. The Knicks have never been able, they've been the losingest franchise in the last 20 years. Like, that mind boggles me as a New Yorker. In the last 20 years, they're the worst team in basketball because they've been singular. They've never been able to stitch all of those things together and make themselves a winner. You have to have a championship mindset. I have never seen it all together at one time, no. So I don't know. Leon, great agent. He was hell of an agent. I mean, he's going to know players well. Worldwide West rubs elbows with Drake. They all have something, but can it work together?
People always love to look ahead, Kenny, but just wanted to look back with you for 1 second because there was so much optimism in this city last year going into free agency. They didn't get who they wanted to, the Knicks. Obviously, Brooklyn got who they wanted to. But what do you think ultimately went wrong there for the Knicks?
I think it's what's been going on for 20 years. It's like there's a thing called Twitter and Instagram that makes it not important to get known by not being in New York. So you could play in Oklahoma City and Chris Paul leads the NBA in commercials. The thought process that I want to be in New York, Chicago, LA isn't always there anymore. LeBron went to Miami the first time. It's all about having a winning franchise. People look at it and say, can I go there? Is that coach going to help me get better? Are those players around me going to get better? My son is 23 years old, and I remember when he was about 16, and my other son now is 12. I brought home some Knicks gear, and I was like, I'm from New York. I love the Knicks. You know, I'm Mr. Skyline behind you. I brought them in. They were like, why'd you bring us this? These guys suck. In my mind, I was like, wow, in their lifetime, they don't know the Knicks as a good team.
Right.
And it hit me, and I was like, it hurt me. It hurt my own feelings. I was like, no, that's the team I loved growing up. That's what we're dealing with right now with the modern day player.
Definitely feel what you're saying about it not being a singular thing, it being a top to bottom to top thing. But the NBA, in a lot of ways, is still a superstar-driven league. Like, the players we're looking at, the major teams that get there at the end are still those superstars. Like, do the Knicks have the pieces even right now to go after a Donovan Mitchell?
Donovan Mitchell wasn't a superstar when he came in the league. He was the 13th pick in the draft. that nobody thought was that he was just okay. He became a superstar because he had a mindset, a singular championship mindset in Utah, which helped him develop into what he is. He was not thought of as that. We look at how he became that. That is what the Knicks don't have or had not had, and hopefully they will have that.
Did you see Tom as the kind of coach when he was in Chicago that can build those habits that you're talking about, the daily habits from the ground up and hold people to the standard that you're talking about on a daily basis?
He's done it before, but he's got to have everyone's got to be on his page as well. Like, and support his, not even on it, support his page. My laptop's sitting here, but it's supported by these books. So if they're not supported, then the laptop falls over. Our interview looks crazy. We're shaking all over the place. So the support of what this is doing, he needs that. Does Leon and Wes and everyone else involved have that ability to support that? I don't know. We'll see. This is their first time doing it. But that is what's needed. That's what I have not seen. I've not seen support for Phil Jackson all around. I've not seen support for Carmelo Anthony. I've not seen support for Porzingis. I've not seen support all around for Isaiah Thomas. I'm not these are the greatest names in the game.
Hey, Ian. The Knicks just hired the real KP, Kenny Payne. Now they just hired Johhnie Bryant from Utah. What do you think he's going to bring to the staff? And do you think it might land us Donovan Mitchell?
Mr. Fucci, thank you so much for the question. With Johhnie Bryant, when you talk to people around the league, they talk about him as one of the top player development coaches in the game. And that's where you start with the Knicks, because that's an area, player development, that they've struggled in for most of the last 20 years. So first and foremost with Johhnie Bryant is bringing him in because of his track record with player development. And yes, he has relationships with Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, other top players around the league. And if his presence helps you sign one of those players or convince one of those players that it's worthwhile to ask for a trade to the Knicks, to me, that's an added benefit. But the top reason that you bring in a Johhnie Bryant is because of his track record with player development, an area where the Knicks have struggled. And hopefully for you, Fucci, and for young William James, the Knicks can get it turned around here sometime during Johhnie Bryant's tenure. Starting with the camp, how did this all come about virtually? Because I know you've done it for so long in person. What was it like to do this virtually?
Man, it's so great because, with the pandemic and then social distancing, all my kids and all of their programs were cut off. And I was sitting there and I'm like, why should everyone stop in their development because of a pandemic? So I created the first virtual streaming service, a sports academy, and launched basketball with Kemba Walker, New York's own, Victor Oladipo, Trae Young, Rihanna Stewart, WNBA MVP, and Brittany Griner. And we become everyone's virtual coach for an hour and a half a day. And now we have the back to school sessions, and I have sessions like how to get a scholarship. So I tell you how to get a scholarship. Most people think you have to be on a travel ball team to do that. No. Then we have an I Want to Dunk. If you want to do it, Ian, we got an I Want to Dunk. We teach about explosion. I have the trainers who train the greats. So all the guys who train the Kevin Durant's and James Hardens, they come on and show all of the secrets that they do with those guys. And you work side by side. It works on any device, anywhere. All you need is cell service and Wi-Fi. And you get this access to all this information at jetacademycamp.com.
Kenny, I want to switch gears just a little bit. You've had the privilege of being part of one of the greatest sports shows ever, frankly. I mean, much like Ian and myself with this one. I'm sure a lot of the fans you meet feel like they know you personally. What's one thing about Shaq that fans don't know? What's one thing about Charles that fans don't know?
What they don't know about Charles is he is the neatest person I know in the world. And he calls me a savage because if I don't use a coaster. I one day, check this out, one day he left his wallet out. So he had all these bills in that. So I was like, I'm going to take some out and mess with him. And he was coming back, so I put him back in. Put him back in hurry. So everyone's like kind of laughing in the green room. And he stops and he goes, who touched my wallet? Someone touched my wallet. I said, how do you know? He's like, I leave it in the left-hand corner. And I put my dollar bills facing this way. And now they're faced the other way. Who knows which direction that their dollar bills are facing? No one knows.
Oh, I need Charles as my life coach, man. That's incredible. That's incredible.
And Shaq is the ultimate DJ. I was there when he said he was going to learn how to DJ. I was on a 5-hour plane ride with him, and he brought out his DJ equipment and started DJing on the plane for 5 straight hours. And it was blasting the whole plane for 5 hours.
Sounds like Soul Plane.
Yes.
Kenny, thanks so much for your time, man. This was great. For Maurice, I'm Ian. We'll see everybody next week.
Thanks for having me, guys.